guys, Joebizz34 back again for another X Plus review. All in the 30 centimeter line this one is. And the reason why I'm showing these guys, these bad boys I should say, together is because they all relate to the same movie. They're all from 75 and they're all from the Terror of MechaGodzilla. And this was an awesome film. And I think I said in another video when I was doing the War of Gargantuars review, the X Plus figures of those and the 25 centimeter and the 30 centimeter, I was saying how when I was a kid and they would do Monster Movie Week on like the local channels, sometimes I'd get pissed off because they would show like a monster movie that didn't have Godzilla in it. So, you know, this movie obviously represents Terror of MechaGodzilla, which is a follow-up to the Godzilla vs. MechaGodzilla movie in the 70s. And I remember when I watched this one, they did show like a highlight reel, right? This one begins showing kind of like what happened previously. It was almost like a two-parter, right? The first half was in that one, and then he started off looking like him with actual skin on it and everything, and then it's revealed later that he's a robot controlled by aliens or what have you. And then they go into the sequel, the Terror of MechaGodzilla, and Godzilla's name is not technically in the title. It's not Godzilla or Godzilla versus anything. So I remember having that paranoia because sometimes in Monster Movie Week they would show those non-Godzilla films. I remember with this one, kind of threw me off. I wasn't sure because I was like, well, even though it relates to Godzilla, obviously, and it's characters from Godzilla, you know, they introduce him, which you didn't see in the previous one, and then they're showing him, but it's like, where's Godzilla? He was oddly absent for like the first, you know, part of the movie, like a big part of the beginning. Maybe like he doesn't show up until like, what, 40 minutes, 45 minutes in? And then he just kind of like appears and like, boom, there he is. And then he starts fighting these dudes. And then it becomes like a Royal Rumble. It's like a wrestling match. And here, Titanosaurus is one of the stars of this film. And he's supposed to be kind of like a non-threatening, non-violent creature that unfortunately is because, you know, he has, you know, people controlling him. And he's teaming up with MechaGodzilla, and they're terrorizing everything until this dude shows up. And then, in typical heel fashion in the wrestling world, these two start to team up against him. So it's like a 2-on-1. So, you know, where's Vince McMahon when you need him to kind of, you know, help even things out? So, in any case, obviously our big green friend wins out. And at this point in time, this is kind of when Godzilla became sort of like an anti-hero, or like a hero, the good guy instead of the villain. And he's now, you know, basically coming to the rescue and fighting these guys instead of fighting villains or bad guys like these instead of being the antagonist. Like he's kind of like the hero of the film instead of the threat, you know. So that's kind of like the trend that was beginning after the earlier Godzilla movies. So, you know, you had Godzilla versus King Kong, which he was kind of the villain. You had Godzilla versus Mothra, where he was still sort of the villain. And then again, by this point, he's like now the hero. So, awesome film. This is the 75 Godzilla, MechaGodzilla. There's the marking, which is cool, the MC2. Or MG2, I should say, sorry. But this one is cool. I like this one better, actually, than I have the other one. This opens, but I can't do it with one finger right now, so I'm not going to disturb the filming to do that. Everybody knows that this opens up. And this one does fit in. Let me see if I can. Hold on, I'm going to pause it. Okay, there we go. So I got it open. And what I like about this one versus the release before it, the original MechaGodzilla from, what is it, 73, 74, I believe, 74, that was from Godzilla versus MechaGodzilla. It's similar to this, although I like this better. This is more detailed, and it's a little more weathered, and it looks a little more realistic, like the actual, when I say realistic, I mean like the actual suit that the actor wore. And, you know, it's got like some wrinkles in it, and it's got some weathering in it. I like this better. It looks more badass. And here's his fingers that shoots out missiles and all the cool stuff in the ray that comes out of here. And this, on this version, this one sits much better. On the other one that I have, this little door keeps falling off. Now, this is a diamond reissue. This is not the Ric Boy or anything. His eyes do not light up, and I'm sure it looks very cool if it did. In some cases, I wish I did have the Rick with this one, but it's expensive and rare to get at this point. So I don't know, maybe someday. And then, of course, there's Titanosaurus, the other big bad, not by wish, but by mind control, from what I remember from the film. And he is a threat. And this is the X Plus. This is also the Diamond re-release. This is not the original Japan version. Okay, but cool nonetheless. There's the details on the little snake-like tongue that comes out of his mouth, and he's like a sea monster. Really cool. I love his roar in the film. He's got a really unique gargling kind of roar. And I think the most entertaining part is when they tag up against him and they kind of bury him, and you see him kind of like doing a little dance on Godzilla's grave. Very funny. So obviously there's some comical fighting value there that started to develop in these later 70s sequels. It became a little more cartoony and fun, for kids. And how can you not like these movies? When I was a kid, and the thing about these movies are great about for kids watching them is that there's no violence really that's realistic enough to worry like you see some movies today. I've seen some on Stars and some cables channels that rate them G, and they still show violence and them fighting, but it's monster on monster mainly, and occasionally you might see an actual human get hurt, but it's not ultra graphic or violent where you see actual, physical, carnage to the people. So it's safe for kids to watch. And it is so fun and kind of unrealistic in a way that's what its charm. When I was a kid, I grew up an only child, and I used to love to play in my room, and I'd have my Hot Wheels and Matchbox cars, and a lot of times I played the monster. I was the giant, and I would stomp on my Lego buildings or, and then, you see these movies, and you could tell, even as a kid, I was smart enough to know this is not real. It's a guy in a suit that's crushing model kits and something smaller, fake cars and stuff. But it was fun because you felt like you were watching a professionally made play session that kids would pretend to do, but done on film. You knew it was a guy in a suit. You knew they were fighting each other. It was no different than watching a wrestling match, but just guys in rubber suits. And it was fun, to see them smash the buildings, and it was safe, and you knew it wasn't real. I mean, you watch a violent horror movie of a psychotic killer with a knife going out and stabbing somebody. Well, yeah, somebody that has a screw loose can go out and mimic that. But, watching these films, unless you want to kill some ants and insects outside on your sidewalk, you're not going to go out and be able to smash cars and buildings for real. So, there's a detachment from realisticness there that, is safe for a kid to watch and have fun, and maybe play in his room or play with dolls, regarding it, but, not doing anything, not causing any kind of violence out in the world, because it's so far-fetched that, even as a kid, they know it's fake, and it's all in good fun. It's all imagination and fun. And that's what I love, when I watch these films growing up, and, and I love my son to see, and kids and generations to come, even with the newer versions now, with the very slick CGI. But anyway, let me get to this guy. This is a Ric Boy. So out of the three, this is the most special one of the group, and it's not much different than the standard, and someday probably the Diamond release, I'm sure they'll do it. This came directly from Japan. I got through Jim. Once again, another shout out to him. He hooked me up with this because he's a dealer in Jersey who gets Ric Boys, and he can get them from Japan for you. And the difference is that it comes with the alternate arm that you can put on him here and hold an extra MechaGodzilla head that comes with it. So the standard just comes with a normal Godzilla just like this without the head or the other arm, which still looks awesome. And then the Ric Boy comes with the second arm with the head. So you get the extra head here. And there is a scene in the film. Actually, both films has a part where you see him taking the head off or having MechaGodzilla's head in his arm or his hand. So it represents that part of the movie. And these three go famously together. Awesome. This definitely represents the two films, for these two guys, and then Terror of MechaGodzilla, the backdoor sequel to that, where it kind of continues with Titanosaurus joining the battle. And here's the three monster melee right here lineup, and they're awesome. And if you're a fan and you haven't picked these up yet, look on eBay or see if you can find a dealer or somebody, maybe on one of the Facebook groups, to hook you up with one. I recommend if you collect these and you don't have all three yet, get all three, because they go very well together, considering they're all from the same movie. Okay, quick review. I'll be back with more to show soon. Thanks a lot, guys, for watching. Shout out to all my peeps on Facebook, the Godzilla group, and Kaiju Addicts Club, and all that good stuff. X Plus, as usual, knocks them out of the park. These three are no different. See you soon, guys. Peace out.